Bruce, you must have something really good too.
Of course I do. It's Bruce Danielson, and I guess I'm here to entertain you too.
I'd like to call this informational meeting of Monday, January 31st, 2020 to order. And as we always do, we start off with council remarks. Any council remarks? Well, I do have something that I will say that if you subscribe to the Peacock Network, there's a great documentary on there called American Rock Stars that talk about our gold medal Olympic curling team that is going to go for their second gold medal here coming up very shortly. I believe the mixed doubles start on the 2nd. So if you get a chance, watch it. Pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. Okay, we're on to our first presentation. Sioux Falls Golf Annual Report and Management Agreement Extension. I will tell you, a little birdie has told me that this should be up to par for our other presentations.
Good evening, or afternoon, I guess. Don Kearney with Parks and Rec. Today we've got a two-part presentation for you. Justin Arlt, the market manager for Landscapes Golf Management, is here and will present kind of the year in review for 2021. And then I'll follow it up with a separate presentation as it relates to the proposed extension on the management agreement with the Landscapes Golf Management after Justin's done. So start out with Justin and then I'll bring up the rear. Justin.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Don. I want to start off just by saying thank you and making sure everybody knows how wonderful the Park and Rec department has been for us to work with on behalf of Landscapes Golf Management. Don, Jackie, Kelby, Sean, Tom, Matt, Mike, Tori, they've all been amazing, very helpful. We feel like they're an extension of us and hopefully we're an extension of them. And so just wanted to take that opportunity and make sure that the council knows that they do a great job and we appreciate them. All right, our first category is going to be season passes. And 2020 was outstanding and 21 was even better. We had a 25% increase in the passes sold and consequently the revenue increased 22%. So that was a nice $125,000 increase to the bottom line, which was great to see. On the left there, I just want to highlight for a moment the pass types. When we came in 4 years ago, one of our goals was to try to get younger because the senior category dominated. And one of the things we did is we created a young executive 40 under category. And you can now see that that actually leads. It's 27%, 2% higher than senior. So with over 300 of those young folks, that's really helped us. The younger clientele tends to ride more. They tend to drink more beer and eat more food. And so the ancillary spending is up. Not that seniors don't do those things, but the young folks do it at a higher level. So that is season passes. Next, rounds of golf and playable days. We are excited that we cracked 100,000 rounds for our first time in our tenure. We went to 105,481 rounds, so an 8% increase over 2020. On the far right, we talk about playable days. Playable days were outstanding last year and even better this year with an 11-day increase. So obviously Mother Nature plays a part in revenue generation, and it's been good the past 2 years. Don, in his presentation, will kind of cover a 4-year span and talk about those differences. But I want to bring your attention to the left-hand pie chart that breaks out our membership play, our public, and our other play. Members made up 51% of that 105,000 rounds. Greens fee players and public players, 38%, and 11% was an other category. And in the other category is golf outings, complimentary rounds, leagues, high school events and rounds, and college events and rounds. So if you total those up, we actually have a very nice mix. We have 51% of the play is member play, and 49% is non-member play. And that's a good, healthy mix that we're very comfortable with. Financial performance. Bottom line was, it was lightning in a bottle for 2021. 2020 was outstanding. We were very satisfied with that. Gross revenues went from $3.3 million to over $4 million, so a $700,000 increase. You might say, what does that mean? How did you do it? The revenue increases. I would point towards three things. Obviously, the membership increase paid dividends. Our events, our own run events that we create, and golf outings certainly help. And then ancillary spending is up. Our revenue per round is increasing as people enjoy what we're providing them, and they're taking advantage of it. Capital improvements. We want to make sure that we put money back in and constantly evaluate and improve things. We accomplished 9 total projects. We took care of some bunkers and cart path issues at Prairie Green. At Keene Park, we put in new doors and a nice awning, patio canopy on the back of the clubhouse. And at Elmwood, we upgraded the telephone service system. That was much needed. We now have voicemail and call transfer and things that are needed. Those 9 projects ended up being just short of $73,000 in spending, putting back into the golf courses. Next category is golf events. This is something we're very excited about, very proud of. We feel like we're creating and providing industry-leading events. We feel like we're the leader in this space in Sioux Falls. It's creating buzz, it's adding value to our pass holders, and it's drawing new faces and people to experience our courses through events. And we hope that they come back and play with us as a green fee player, or eventually they join because of these events. Our events are now diverse. In 2020, we did away with Sioux Falls Men's Golf Club, which was a men's-only association, and we created the City Series in an effort to be more widespread and offer events for men, women, couples, families, and children. Basically include everybody, and it's been highly successful. You can see last year that we had participation increase in all categories. Total players, new players, ladies and kids. So encouraging growth in all categories. One event I want to highlight, the picture's small there, but on the bottom left, we received some national exposure for an event that we did called Light Up the Night on the Fast 5. We've got the short course at Elmwood, which is 5 par 3s. We literally lit up every hole with light booms. Had golfers play till midnight. Then we had a $250,000 shootout, a hole-in-one shootout. We had live entertainment and food trucks, and it was super cool, super exciting, and it's something that we're going to continue to do and do again next year. So events were well received and a lot of fun. Player development. We want to grow the game at our courses. We want to make sure that the city golf courses that are a leader in this space, we feel like we are. We now provide year-round programming. The top pictures there are actually of Keene Park. We utilize the clubhouse, the interior of that clubhouse, for the golf academy. That golf academy has a max capacity right now of 60 students, which is outstanding. The player development program is led by Danny Sinkson, and he was awarded the 2021 Minnesota Section PGA Teacher of the Year. He's a 2-time winner. We're very, very excited for Danny, happy to have him a part of our team. He gave over 800 individual lessons last year. He works really hard for us. And of course, the city is the home for the programming for the First Tee, Get Golf Ready classes, and then the PGA Junior League. We have 2 PGA Junior Leagues that Danny is the lead instructor for, and very successful. Technology. We made some technology changes and improvements. A new website and online store for easier access, allows for passes to be sold 24/7 at any time. obviously has helped pass sales and convenience. We've implemented an ORCA inventory system for food and beverage, which integrates the 3 courses and makes transfers between the courses super accurate and super efficient. Because obviously with 3 courses, we want to move things around and make sure our cost of goods sold are in line, and they are. We've created a mobile app specifically for our golf courses. It has a push notification element to it. So for example, if there's severe weather coming and our patrons have downloaded that app, we can send a push notification directly to their phone that says, severe weather is coming, please evacuate the golf course immediately. And of course, in your palm, hand bookings 24/7, which is very convenient and a nice service for our patrons. Last but not least, a new point of sale system that's more efficient, allows us to not have to issue physical cards for people to have and keep. They constantly lost them, so that's a benefit. And now we have a business intelligent dashboard that's incorporated with the point of sale system, helps myself and all of our staff and all of our managers manage that business and know exactly how we sit every day. It populates, and then also our regional manager has access to that, the home office, accounting department. So it's seamless. No more faxes, no more emails. Everybody can check everything as need, independently and efficiently. Food and beverage and agronomy. These were 2 areas that arguably afforded us the biggest opportunity to improve when we took over. And we're moving these, continue to move these in the right direction. Food and beverage is now full service instead of self-service. From last year to this year, we had $100,000 growth in gross revenue. Our cost of goods sold, very strong at 34%, 35% the last 2 years, which is really where you want to be in an industry standard. So great things are happening in food and beverage as we create better experiences. And then agronomy, I think everybody that's played the golf courses have now realized we're providing private club conditions and playing surfaces, specifically the greens. Our superintendents and agronomists have done a great job for us improving those. A couple of things of note: Prairie Green is the number 3 ranked public golf course in the state. It's the highest ranked golf course in Sioux Falls. And then Elmwood, the improvements there have been very noticeable with the new assistant or new head superintendent, Todd Zorink, under the tutelage of Norm Parsons. Tom Lehman came out during the Sanford International and toured the golf course, all 18 holes, walked it, and had wonderful things to say about specifically the fairways and the conditioning. Customer service, customer relations. This is very important to us. Obviously, we're proud of the money and the financial aspects of what we're producing, but these next 3 slides really confirm and show what we're doing are the right things, and we're putting together better experiences and a better product on your behalf. There's some quotes there that you can read that we pulled out. A quote from Woody Austin on the bottom. But in short, anytime a player pays a green fee with us and they play, they get an email thank you, and then they get an opportunity to fill out a survey and critique us, so to speak. The next slide kind of touches on that. We ask them about, at all 3 golf courses, we ask them about how clean the clubhouse is, how the course is maintained, their overall satisfaction, what's our pace of play look like, was the staff helpful, were you treated professionally? And you can see there at all 3 golf courses, out of 5, we ended up 4.5, which is really good. NPS is a net promoter score. That's what that stands for. And it's how likely patrons are to return and promote the facility to others. One note on the graph on the top, you might see the dip down there low. That is exactly when we aerify the golf courses. And we have to do aerification, which affects the course conditions. And that's why you see the dips on those dates. How do we rank nationally, right? What does this mean? Well, Landscapes Golf Management has 50 plus facilities under their bonnet, and this chart kind of compares us. All 3 of your golf courses were above the NPS goal of 65% on the Net Promoter Score. Our courses, your courses, ranked 5th, 6th, and 7th out of the 50. So performing very well, not just on our standards, but when we compare that to courses we manage across the country. So we're very proud of that. Last but not least is just what to look for in 2022. A couple of things I'd point out. We want to create a par 3 championship at Keene Park. Keene Park is still undervalued, and a lot of people don't realize how good that place is. So we're going to host a par 3 championship at Keene Park. We've got a new, larger cart fleet that's coming to Elmwood this summer with GPS, which is great. And then we're going to look into a cart path capital project at Prairie Green that's going to be a little bit larger scale on the front 9 to improve. A little bit of a pass update. Those numbers actually are low. Right now, 2022 season passes, we cracked 1,000 passes sold as of today. So we are on pace to meet or exceed pass growth that was achieved in 2021. So with that, I would love to entertain any questions that anybody has on anything that I spoke to or anything on the slides that maybe I didn't touch on, because there was a lot of information there. Two criteria. One is obviously the current condition, how bad they are, but then also the drainage of the hole and the design of the hole, making sure that we factor in both those two things and when we choose the hole and whatnot.
And my last question was, it wasn't too long ago that the Parks Department came and asked for permission for you to bid on a Brandon golf course, which was kind of an extension from our original contract. Would you like to give us an update on how that went?
Yes, so that's a very good question. So you did afford us that ability. The company, led by Chris Jacobson, Jake, our regional manager, took part in that, and Landscapes did a consulting with them. And Jake and the company did do some consulting work and helped them. In the end, they decided to not put out a full-blown RFP and go with a management company. After Jake and LGM helped them through the consulting, they felt like they were on the right path. They could try to do it alone.
Okay, thank you. Hearing none, seeing none, any questions on the phone? I don't hear any. Jump right into the second part of the presentation.
Thank you very much.
We might call you back if we need you.
Well, believe it or not, Council, we're actually now in our 5th year of our 5-year management contract with Landscapes Golf Management. And my presentation really is more about the contract extension, but in order to really evaluate what they did over the last 4 years, to know whether or not we want to recommend an extension, felt like we ought to look back the entire 4 years that they've been operating with us so far. So rounds comparison, you'll see from 2018 to 2021, we've seen a steady increase in rounds over the past 4 years for an total increase of 28%. You can also see there's a corresponding increase in playable days, with the first 2 years being below average and the last 2 being above average. It's also important to note that while we did increase rounds by 30,000 across the 3 courses, we've done that with 10-minute time intervals, tee time intervals in 2020 due to COVID. And what we really found and what Justin and his team found is that people really enjoy the additional spacing between the tee times. And obviously it was done for social distancing, but it really made for a better player experience, less congestion, less congestion in the pro shop, and just generally a better overall experience for the players. As it relates to passes sold, looking back onto the 4 years, the number of passes sold by all types was a 44% increase, and there's about the same percentage of increase, obviously, with the total revenue for pass sales. What really drove that was a simplified pass structure that was easy for the players to understand, but also easier for the staff to sell. There were so many options that were available to people that actually confused them on which one they should actually buy. And so that certainly helped. It also attracted young golfers. They set up that young executive pass that Justin talked about earlier. And it really allows us to serve a broader demographic, as you saw from his graphs that he used earlier. The other key was that the new season pass structure created additional value. So that if you bought a pass, your pass was now good at all the courses. Before you had an option if you wanted to just play at Prairie or Elmwood, you could do that. Now, if you buy a pass, it's good at all 3 courses, which helps when we have events at particular courses. You just hop on at the other course. As it relates to food and beverage, this is an area early on that Landscapes really saw lots of opportunity with that piece of the business. One of the things they wanted to tackle initially was improving the improving the atmosphere at the clubhouses, especially at Elmwood, where we did some cosmetic enhancements with some minimal investment. And the other thing they changed is that instead of going from a kind of a self-serve, grab your own hot dog kind of thing, they went to a full service, and that certainly was helpful. They created a full menu of daily specials, and now they have I understand they now have 40 beer selections over there. I'm really pleased, though, is the second part of this slide as it relates to the non-golf events. One of the taglines that Landscapes uses is "Your city, your courses." And what's nice about that is that being able to offer our facilities up for the weddings, graduations, retirements, banquets, even they have an annual tailgater that they have at Prairie. It's great to see these facilities being used beyond just the golfing community. They're the city assets, they're your courses, and the general public should have access to it. And I'm really excited about the potential that a new clubhouse at Elmwood would bring for those types of outings, and really make it more of a year-round use. Moving on in food and beverage, it certainly stands out as we look back in their 5-year history, the 4-year history of working with us. Gross revenues have increased 76% since 2018, and net operating income on food and beverages has increased $150,000 since they started. Is largely, again, due to an expanded menu. They have national buying power with Cisco, their food supplier, and then the inventory tracking system that Justin talked about, where they can manage that inventory across all 3 courses. As it relates to capital and projects, in total they did 29 projects, and I'd like to highlight a few of those at each of the courses. Synthetic turf was put down at the Prairie Green driving range. It really helps when we have wet days that really damage the turf, but it's also good early in the season when the grass isn't actually growing and it can't recover. It's very good in that situation too, and it's great to hit off. The systematic bunker reconstruction and replacing cart paths at Prairie Green. I would tell you that cart paths will continue to be a priority out at Prairie Green, given the feedback that we received from the golfers. At Elmwood, I mentioned those clubhouse enhancements, but they also did some other practice facility upgrades that really helped to improve the range experience, and it's also showing up in our bottom line as we look at specific range ancillary revenues. And then the other thing I'd share is that the driving range net at Keene Park was replaced, and Justin mentioned the patio replacement, which is a popular hangout for those that use Keene Park. Fleet investments. This is all the equipment that's necessary to be able to maintain the 3 courses. Early on, what Landscapes did is they saw a need for an additional mechanic to maintain the equipment and also reposition that equipment across the 3 courses, because obviously, you know, it's all one management company and they can use use that equipment across the 3 courses. The other thing that they did was they added greens mowers and rollers. You know, one of the most predominant comments we get about course conditioning is the greens. And the fact that they roll those greens and have mowers, enough mowers to be able to properly maintain those, it's the #1 compliment we get at all of our courses. The other thing is blowers. You know, when the fall rolls around, if you play golf, you spend more time looking for your ball than you do actually playing sometimes, it seems. And so to have those blowers to get the leaves off the rough and the fairway is great. Sand rakes, motorized sand rakes, certainly something that's been helpful too. If you play golf, or anybody that knows golf, you know that we've all complained about the condition of the sand somewhere along the line. It has nothing to do with our play, it's all about the sand. And so to have high quality sand conditions in our bunkers is great. And then they also invested in larger, higher quality rough mowers. During some of our wetter years, we've struggled to keep up with the rough mowing, because again, it slows down play, because 1, it's tough to hit out of, 2, it's hard to find it. And so we've got those mowers in place now that can keep up with it. Now, as we look at the overall financial picture of the golf courses over the 4 years, revenues during that time are up 40%, and expenses are up 25%. This was a result in a large increase in EBITDA, which is a great indicator of profitability. And certainly COVID has helped outdoor sports. The outdoor sports industry, and golf is certainly part of that, and it's no exception. And then when you couple that with what would be described as a year of perfect golf weather in 2021, it produced an EBIT of $776,000. So one might question, was Landscapes' financial performance a product of COVID and great weather, or was there something more to the story? So we dug into that a little deeper, and you've seen these playable days and rounds played, and you'll notice that there's been a gradual increase in playable days and rounds played. But what's also interesting is if you look at the net revenue per round of 24 cents in 2018, and now in 2021, $7.25 per round. Justin mentioned the younger guys eat more food and drink more beer, or pop, or whatever it is they consume, that is just increased. And then you look at EBITDA, $18,000 in 2018, and now $776,000 in 2021. I think it's safe to say that results that Landscapes has achieved since they started is not just about COVID, and it wasn't just weather, although they certainly have helped in the last couple of years. As you can see in 2021, it was stellar, and I would just caution us that it's not something that we should expect every year, given the incredible weather we had in 2021. And so for 2022, they've budgeted for a more normal year as it relates to weather. We talked about some of that ancillary spending, the pro shop, the driving range, the food and beverage. Those have increased 40% and by $500,000 over that 4 years. So again, while rounds and playable days are favorable, it's clear that Landscapes have been working hard to make our courses profitable due to their efforts in these areas. Justin covered this a certain amount already about what customers are saying, but a 9 out of 10 net promoter score is very positive. The average is about 7. So to get a 9 is very good. That just means people are happy, and they're going to share that with their friends. And then the other thing I'd share is that when we surveyed pass holders, the top 4 things that they wanted to see were cart pass at Prairie Green, bunker quality and consistency at all the courses. They reaffirmed the need for a new clubhouse at Elmwood, and then they also want enhanced member rewards and discounts as part of their season passes. And so I know Justin and Jake and that entire team will be working to try to address as many of those things as they possibly can. As it relates to the contract extension, the current agreement expires on 12/31 of this year. We're recommending the extension with no changes to the contract. So it's just basically re-upping the existing terms and conditions of the contract. The timing of the extension is important. It gives certainty to staff so that they know about their future employment, but it also provides certainty to the city and to the management company for our planning purposes. As you all know, as part of the Quality of Life Bond 3, we're proposing a new clubhouse, and it'd be really important for us to have landscapes on board when we go to design that facility, not only the clubhouse, but also the cart barn as well. So to get them on board and know that as we enter that planning phase in 23 and 24, they'll be with us. Realizing some of the realizing some of the council members were not on the council when the original contract was put together, I thought I would go through some of the key contract terms as just a reminder about what is in the current contract. The contract, when it was put together, really was modeled after other contracts we have with other third-party managers. It had an initial term that we're in now of 5 years with an option to renew for an additional 5-year term. Landscapes is an independent contractor, and their compensation has an annual base fee of $75,000 plus a 3% annual escalator. And then they also receive an incentive fee on 11% of any positive adjusted operating income. The contract also requires that the golf rates are approved by the Parks and Recreation Board, and any and all assets become the property of the city upon contract termination. The extension timeline as proposed, we went to the Parks and Rec Board meeting on the 19th. They did unanimously recommend the extension to the mayor and the city council. Obviously, we were before you today at the informational, and then next Tuesday, we plan to have the resolution on the agenda for your consideration for the extension of the contract. So with that, Justin and Jake and myself are available for questions.
Thank you. Council questions? Let me go to the phone first. Any questions on the phone? Any questions? Councilor Brecky.
Just a question about the ash board. We had a plan, how we were gonna deal with that with the golf courses. Can you just give me an update? I mean, are we getting the trees out that we have to get out, and are we replacing them sufficiently as we go? So can you just update me?
Yeah, sure. We have been removing ash trees on the city courses. Really started at Elmwood, did some work out at Keene Park this year, working on a plan for trees at Prairie Green as well. One of the things we're trying to do with the courses, because knowing how valuable they are to the actual play of the course, we're probably trying to slow that down a little bit more than we would like on our street trees, where we're trying to get 2,200 a year out so that we can meet our 10-year objective. We are on plan on the streets. We're purposely slowing down a little bit at Elmwood, Prairie Green, and Keene Park so that we can go as long as we can, but not get in a situation where we're in a crisis mode. One of the things we've found is that those adjacent property owners at Prairie are pretty protective of their trees, and for good reason. And so that's another reason why we're trying to probably not be as aggressive out there. Whereas at Elmwood, we don't have adjacent private property owners that we're also working with. So I think we're on a good pace, and we're actually working with Justin and Norm, their groundskeeper, about putting that plan into place of what's acceptable and what do we think we can do to extend the life of those trees as long as we can.
Do you have a rough number about how many trees you've replaced? Are you adding trees as you go, or?
We are starting to work on a capital program to start replacing those as those start to come out. And so I can see us adding quite a number of trees over the years, not only to replace the ones that are there, but to get more diverse, like we're trying to get on our street trees too.
All righty, thanks.
You bet.
Councilors, other questions? I've just got a couple. I'm not an accountant, and I would wondering, Don, if we look at the increased revenue and the contracts, is there a bottom line to the city that, could you give us the bottom line? How much more money are we making now as a city than we were 4 years ago?
Well, we were actually losing money 4 years ago and the years prior to that due to the renovations at Elmwood. And so we were actually subsidizing the courses during that time frame. But 2018, the year they started, was the first year we actually weren't under construction. And so they were basically coming off of those years that we were losing dollars. And so to have the bottom line like we were showing earlier, obviously that allows us to do plant trees, you know, replace cart paths, redo bunkers, irrigation systems are getting older. And so by having those dollars in the operations account that Landscapes manages for us, we'll be able to continue to reinvest with capital projects over the years. So we're in really good shape this last year, and you can see that we've continued to build on that success from the first year that they started. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, you'll get there. Maybe I got to get to the accountant part of the city head, but because my question is, the second part is, as the city grows and as these rounds of golf continue to grow, how far can we push these golf courses before we're at the max? I mean, there's got to be a time with the city going to grow 50,000 in the next 7 years that we're going to say we're out of time. We don't have enough golf.
Yeah, we've been actually talking about that with Landscapes, and Justin's probably better suited to answer that question because he's obviously closer to the numbers than I am. But Justin, you want to address that?
So right now, when it comes to utilization, we're at about 85% utilization. So we're not at the point where we'll become maybe one of our competitors, if I'm just being honest. So we have some time. We have some inventory, so to speak, to still, grow memberships and grow rounds. But it is something long-term that we should talk about and consider as the city continues to grow. And quite honestly, the community, this isn't just, our predicament, a positive predicament. The private clubs in this community are all full with a waiting list. Great Life has 40+ thousand members, 8,000 of which are golf members. We have 1,200 to 1,400. So as the game is becoming more popular, as the community continues to grow, the reality is, whether it's the city golf courses, the private courses, or any course, there isn't a number of holes, an adequate number of holes right now in the community. We're actually positioned in a little better spot, having about 20 to 15% still available. But it is something we've talked about, and it's probably something that in the future, to be proactive, needs to be talked about.
Councilor Jensen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have just a few questions on the contract and then your EBITDA, and maybe you can answer it, maybe you don't know the answer. So the independent contractor compensation will be a base fee of $75,000, and then the incentive fee on top of that is 11% on any positive adjusted operating income. Is that the number that you had in your slide, your EBITDA, or what number does that actually, what would that number have been in 2021?
Yeah, so 2021, the contingency fee due to Landscapes Golf Management is $117,076. That is the contingency. I believe in 2020, it was in the neighborhoods of 60-some thousand, 63,000 in 2020.
And then, so this is my first time going through the contract and could have asked this earlier. So then a lot of the employees that you hire out there are city employees then? Or how does that work? Because 75 plus 117 doesn't hire all those individuals, right. I assume.
All the employees are actually Landscapes Golf Management employees. In peak season, we have roughly 128, and this time of year, we have about 16. So all employees are landscapes golf management employees per the contract.
And then of the excess revenues over your expenses, over the expenses, what kind of a reserve do we have set up in the city? I guess I could look at the financials as well, but do you know what that number is, or how does that work at the end of the year when you have extra money? Does that just revert back into a certain line item, or how does that work?
I can speak to the dollar amount on the financials. Right now in the account, there's $1.2 million. And then in the accounts receivable checking account for miscellaneous expenses, operational expenses, there's, I believe, 560-some thousand. So in total, 1.6 million is there. The other part of the question I would not be able to answer as it relates to the city and how that works.
Okay. Thanks.
Any further, council? Hearing none, thank you very much for your great presentation. It was very well done, greatly received. Thank you for your good work. This time we have public comment. If anybody is here to have public comment on this subject, now would be the time. Seeing none, we are adjourned.